The new MrBeast allegations that just dropped are absolutely disgusting. The ex-employee Dogpack404 just released his part 2 video called I Worked for MrBeast. He's a sociopath. And in this video, he goes over some seriously strong allegations against MrBeast and his company. This video goes over the fact that a registered sex offender works for MrBeast, how MrBeast allegedly tortured this contestant on a show called 100 Days of Solitary Confinement, amongst other things. Now, jumping right into this solitary confinement video, here's what happened.
There was a video that came out probably like a year ago, something like that. It got a lot of hot water when it came out. It was one of those solitary confinement videos that got a lot of media attention because everybody saw the premise and thought, what? You shouldn't do that. And people don't know that was the second attempt. The first attempt was on me. And it didn't go well. And they try to make the pitch sound like it's going to be like a walk in the park. The pitch is 100 days in solitary confinement. But don't worry, like you only have to last like 30. We have like a video. They're pitching it like at first it's going to be like a luxury vacation. You're going to have like a hot tub and an ice cream machine. And like part of the video is going to be you deciding like what items am I going to get rid of, today? And it's like the choice. They were like, it's only going to be bad for maybe the last like 5 days tops when you have like nothing left. You're the first, it's going to be like a breeze for most of it. And by the end of it, after 30 days, you're going to get $300,000 because it's $10,000 a day.
I'm not going to hold you. If someone's offering me $300,000 to do that for 30 days, I might freaking think about it. I'm not going to lie. That's a lot of money. That's life-changing money. It's a lot for me. It's a lot for most people. It's a lot for probably everybody watching this video. Shit. But I'll be honest, I can almost guarantee someone that's actually done real solitary confinement before probably wouldn't do it again, even for any amount of money. Nonetheless, this amount of money. But notice how he said it was supposed to be 100 days, but all you had to do was last a minimum of 30. That's because MrBeast is able to extrapolate that much content out of 30 days, and that's the bare minimum. So what would have happened if this guy stayed on for longer than 30 days? Longer torture? Longer for him to feel terrible? Longer for him to potentially get even sicker than he already was? Doesn't look too good.
I grew up poor in North Carolina. I said, excuse me? I'll dance for you if you put that kind of money in my face, sure. They were like, you're going to be locked in this room, and we got to make sure you're on all the time. We're going to have cameras on you all the time, and you're perfect for this because you never shut the fuck up. On paper, I was like, okay, I can do this, and they always cut me out of the videos. They always, and I was, editors have told me that it's because you have too much of a personality. And so with this video, I thought, this is perfect. It's a video they can't cut me out of. I'm the guy.
It seems like because he was initially told when he was hired that he was going to be in all these videos and he really was just either in the background or not in the video at all, that he really just wanted a chance to be in the spotlight and he wanted to be in one of the videos. And in this case, this is given the opportunity to him to be the main character. So of course he's enticed to say yes. I mean, I feel like most people would, but little did he know what he was getting into.
It got to a point where like they weren't turning the lights off. I asked them, I said, can we have nighttime hours? And they said no, because it would fuck up the time-lapse shots. The time-lapse of what? Me sleeping? Or me not sleeping?
And that would have been okay. They could have just said, hey, this is a game show. We're going to let this guy sleep for the night because he's got to stay in here all day for 3 months, for 100 days. So let's let the guy get some damn sleep. But instead, they decided not to turn the lights off. So he couldn't sleep. This is starting to sound less and less like a game and more like real-life torture.
Yeah, I saw in other videos they did like, oh, you're going to get XYZ hours of sunlight. Oh, great. Want to know how they figured that one out? I didn't have it. One of the things was you got to take away your clock, so you didn't know what time it was. Okay, I got no access to sun. I got no access to clock. The lights are on me all the time. I wasn't sleeping. I could not sleep, and I have insomnia problems now. But they might have started there.
Some of what we need as human beings, some of the most important medicine, some of the most important things you can do for your body is getting an adequate amount of sleep, and good sleep, not interrupted sleep, but a adequate amount of sleep. For some people, that's 7 hours. For some, it might be 8. And for some, it might even be 9. A good amount of uninterrupted sleep is extremely essential for your mental health, your physical health, and overall just for a better life. Another thing you really need is vitamin D. And you get vitamin D by going out and being in the sun. So when you're deprived of sunlight for 3 months or 100 days and you can't sleep and now you're sleep deprived, that sounds like torture to me.
I had a lot of good people looking out for me saying, this, we gotta stop. So I just wanted to turn the lights off. And I go up to my friend, my good friend. And I go, they're not turning the lights off. He goes, what? That's a war crime. We're not allowed to do that to terrorists. Jimmy would come in like every other day for like an hour, to check in on me because he's doing other stuff. I'm just the guy in the cage over here. He'll come back to me in a minute. Jimmy said, can you say to the camera how thankful you are that now you can pay back your student loans? You know how hard it was to do a take of that and pretend to make it genuine? I don't want to have student loans. I don't want to be in a cage. But Jimmy's the guy with the money, and if you do what he says, he'll do what you want. You want your student loans paid off? You just be in this cage. It was too real. If they're faking videos, why couldn't we fake this one?
That's a good point. If some of the videos were faked, why not fake this one? Or just openly say to people, we don't want to inflict any real harm to this guy. He's an employee, maybe even a friend. Let's make sure he gets some sleep tonight. We're going to cut the lights. We're probably going to cut the cameras because who wants to watch this guy sleep for 8 hours? And then when we wake up, we're going to resume the time lapse. It's all good.
The thing that made me I got to get out. I can't do another day in a year. Jimmy comes in and I'm asleep. I don't know what time it is. I don't know, it's like 2 or 3 or whatever. He's like, why is he sleeping? I don't know, because I can't sleep. And he comes in, he wakes me up. And he goes, ask me why I have 2 briefcases. And I'm like, why do you have 2 briefcases? And he goes, oh, because this one's for today, and this one's for the challenge. And I go, what's the challenge today? He goes, you're gonna run a marathon. You're gonna do the 22.6K, whatever it is. And you're gonna do it on that treadmill over there. Oh, the blisters I had on my feet were like, you wouldn't believe, just all over, just these big red. I couldn't walk. My muscles were like just the lactic acid. I got off the treadmill, and then the people that came in to like ice my feet, make sure I was good. Then that's when I was like, I'm done. I can't. I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. And that's when I get psych in, and I talk to the psych about how I'm not well.
It's crazy that they had to have a psychiatrist come in and evaluate him and make sure he was okay after all of this. Like, knowing that this was going to be so traumatic that they had to hire somebody like that to come and talk to him and make sure he was okay is absolutely wild.
And they didn't let me leave right away either. They wanted to make sure, everything was fine. So I just, slept for a while. They turned the lights off. And they brought in all my friends, to make it. Jimmy had he was sitting in the chair turned around like an evil villain. Swear to God. Everyone was looking at me, and he was like Lex Luthor over there. She says, as if rehearsed by his lawyers. Your mental health's the most important thing. Just want to make sure you're okay. And the last thing we want you to do is... I can almost hear the word Sue come out of his mouth. The S. He just stopped right before it got out. He goes, think of it this way. At least you get to keep what you earned. 100,000 some change, give or take.
That's some twisted shit. Imagine putting someone through so much trauma and then afterwards saying like, hey, well, at least you got some money out of it. At least you're still here. At least you didn't take yourself away. What an insane person. I don't know, man. I don't think MrBeast has the same empathy that he portrays that he has for everybody. I think this is really just a game for him. I think he really just wants to be the best YouTuber, and that he will do anything for entertainment to get more views and to keep growing and to be the best. I don't think that the people he hurts in the middle of that matters to him at the moment. I think there's other goals that matter to him, and if he's got to step on a few people, it doesn't matter. They're just part of the process. So back around July 2021, they exchanged some text messages, Dawson, aka Dogpack, and this guy Jake Weddle, and he checks in on him, and Jake responds, he says, how you feeling after a few days? He goes, oh, better. I still couldn't sleep even a few days out, but I almost have my sleep cycle back on track. My legs and joints are good, but the blisters on my feet still hurt to walk on. Medical advice I got was not to lance them and just let them go away with time. I'm mentally still in an uneasy place, but I've gotten back on better help. My therapist is a little concerned, but we're working on things. Dogpack responds and says, a lot of thinking, maybe too much, one might say. Hope they're taking good care of you where they can. And then Jake responds, I mean, I'm kind of shocked they didn't pay me for the full 25 to 30 days. They paid me for what I made up to that point. Like, even when we have to pull the plug for my mental health, the mechanism of the game is still at play. I'm just happy to be out. I still can't walk well, but at least it hurts less. Here you can kind of see that what would make the challenge better. So he says you need off-camera breaks, lights off at night, visitation, remove the marathon challenge, because how the hell are you supposed to run a marathon when you're getting sleep deprived and you're in an insane asylum pretty much in solitary confinement for 30 days or more? I mean, that's insane. You can't expect someone to run a marathon after that or during that. He said the marathon should be like a video in itself. You can't expect someone to exert themselves like that for 45 seconds of content. And what he means by that is that marathon was only like some B-roll footage. So it's like just, it's kind of glazed over in the grand scheme of things. But to the person doing it, that's a real marathon. I mean, they're running for hours to complete this. And then it's only 45 seconds worth of content. That's not worth a shit for them. You know what I mean? He says the challenges really made it feel dehumanizing. Felt like a parody of MrBeast. I feel like the homeless guy that they could exploit. So again, essentially just waving money around and taking advantage of him. And before anyone says he probably could have just walked away, here's a document that Dogpack shares. This is part of the MrBeast employee training. So the policy says no does not mean no. And it goes on to say, when dealing with people outside MrBeast Productions, never take no at face value. If we need a store to buy everything inside of, and you call the local Dollar Tree, and the person that answers says, no, you can't film here, that literally doesn't mean shit. Talk to other employees and see if there are any fans, or if they have any kids that are fans. Try talking to their boss's boss, have me DM them on Twitter, aka have MrBeast DM them on Twitter, and try their social team, etc. If after all avenues are exhausted, you are left with a no, that doesn't mean don't try the other Dollar Trees, because the manager of those could be huge fans and willing to bend the rules. Basically, what I'm trying to convey is what we call pushing through no. Don't just stop because one person told you no, stop when all conceivable options are exhausted. This is one of many tools that, when combined, dramatically improve your probability of success when producing here. Now, I want to say anyone that's ever been in a sales job can sort of understand what pushing through no means, but anyone that does honest sales is not going to want to hinder somebody. They're not going to want to bother somebody. They're not going to want to inconvenience somebody. You shouldn't want to do something like that to somebody else just for your own beneficial gain. Other people matter too. Their lives matter. Their job matters. To try to get them to bend the rules for you and put their shit at risk is not cool. But again, this is MrBeast and their company sort of just flexing their influence and their power, thinking that they're so far above everyone else that they can sort of just get what they want. Now we got to talk about this guy that's been working for MrBeast, who is a registered sex offender. I can't believe that that's a thing. I mean, how could you hire somebody that's a registered sex offender? It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, in the interview, Jake goes on to say and sort of discuss the situation here.
I heard, people have been let go for sexually assaulting some very young people. Jimmy was covering stuff up. He didn't want stuff to come out. He's very careful about his image. The tangible proof that he knew but covered it up. How do you prove that, Well, there was a known sex offender, registered sex offender, convicted sex offender on the registry and everything, who worked there. And they covered up the fact that not only did he work there, but he was like the manager when it all started. And that he knew, and because he'll be in videos, he'll be in thumbnails, he'll be around. And whenever he is, he's wearing a mask. Why would you wear a mask? Why would you conceal your face? It's like, what are you concealing? That you are a registered sex offender? And that your face can be looked up on a thing? How much more can you literally cover up a sex offender?
Bro, does this guy not do background checks? There's no way a guy like MrBeast, there's no way these people are not extremely vetted. Where are the background checks? Where is the period where you actually look into these people? You look at their social media profiles, who they may or may not be friends with, and you get a little bit more detail into their lives. I mean, it doesn't take much to find out that this guy is actually a registered sex offender. This is public information. Anybody can go online and find this. The out-of-state description is rape, 4th degree sexual intercourse victim, less than 18 years old. The victim's age was 11. The victim was 11, bro. What are you doing messing with an 11-year-old? Now, here I want to point out, it says the offender's age. was 16. Think about it. When you're in high school and you're around that like sophomore or junior age, you're in a 11th grade or 10th grade and you're 16. You're going on 17. I mean, you don't mess with people in fucking middle school or elementary school. That's gross, man. You got a high school where you got people your own age. It in any age, in any capacity, that's gotta feel wrong. There's something clearly wrong with this person. And this has been confirmed by somebody else. Here's a tweet by another employee of MrBeast, Jake Franklin, aka Jake the Viking on Twitter. And he goes, here's the truth. Yes, Delaware, again, they reference this registered sex offender as Delaware as his nickname. Yes, Delaware is my brother-in-law, meaning this registered sex offender is married to this guy's sister. Yes, he is a registered sex offender or an RSO. When he was 21, a 16-year-old girl accused him and others of SA when she was 11. Delaware took a plea deal. That's why there was no jail time, but he still had to register. Now, this guy's making it seem like, oh, it was just an accusation and it wasn't that bad. Why would you plead guilty to something you didn't do? Why would you take a plea deal if you really had no involvement in this? Clearly, this guy legitimately SA'd somebody, you know? He says his nickname isn't Delaware because he can't go back to Delaware. He's from Delaware. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He's been back several times. Okay, sure. That doesn't debunk the fact that this guy is still a registered sex offender. He was hired before I was and was actually the reason I got hired at MrBeast. Before being hired, Delaware sat down with Jimmy and Sue, aka Jimmy's mom, and explained to them everything. So yes, Jimmy knew, but again, this incident happened in 2010. Delaware was hired in 2017 or 2018. Delaware was also let go from the company before I was. I'm just going to point out that this guy is trying to say, oh, it happened, 7 years ago before he was hired at the time. And let me ask you guys something. If somebody murdered somebody in 2010 and then tried to get a job in 2017 and then brought up the fact that he was a convicted murderer, does that make the murder any less violent? Does that make the murder any less wrong? Does it make what he did any less fucked up? No. The same thing applies here. He did what he did. It doesn't take away from that. They say time heals all wounds, but that doesn't necessarily apply for victims of SA. He says Delaware was supposed to be a behind-the-scenes manager, but in a couple of videos, he was asked to partake because we needed people. He was reluctant, especially in the straitjacket video because of his charges, and that's why he wore the mask. I'm going to say that he wore the mask because he was afraid that people would find out who he is. And I don't think that MrBeast and the team thought that it was a good idea that would be so easy for the public to do. So they probably wanted him to wear the mask. And if he brought that up, they were probably okay with it. They clearly knew and they tried to cover this up. He says Delaware charges are set to be dropped this fall. Delaware has been nothing but a good person, an amazing husband to my sister, and the best father to my 2 nieces that I could ever ask for. Whoa, 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 whoa. This man has kids. There should be no registered sex offender that has children. That's just... Do you mean to tell me this guy has kids of his own and he worked for a company in which the majority of the audience were children and his fetish is children? I mean, bro, this is so fucked up. I don't give a shit about cancel culture and I don't give a shit about what the internet has to say. I don't give a shit about what they want to label these people. This is fucking wrong. You can't do this. You can't have this. And anybody enabling this, MrBeast included, is just as fucked up in the head as the actual registered sex offender that he hired. He says right here, hurting kids in any way is completely unacceptable, but in the case of Delaware, I firmly believe he did nothing wrong. What the fuck? He took a plea deal, bro. He admitted to being guilty. What are you talking about? And what's ironic is this guy had all this shit to talk about Chris Tyson when his shit came out about Chris Tyson and his fetish for little kids. But then when this guy's family member gets involved, all of a sudden, oh, he's okay. I don't think he did anything wrong. The fucking hypocrisy, my dude. Get out of here with that. Now, there's a saying out there that goes, everybody deserves a second chance. But you sometimes have to ask yourself, if there is a person on this planet willing to harm an innocent child at least one time in their life, what is causing them to change? What is all of a sudden going to transform them to never be willing or wanting to do that again? There are some things that you can fix in this life, but I don't think being a child molester, I don't think being a registered sex offender, when you're targeting underage children, children. I don't give a shit if you're 16, 36, 56. It doesn't matter. Going after kids is not okay. That's one of the worst fucking crimes you can do. A child is innocent at nature. Okay, we need to protect our children. We need to make sure that they're okay, that they have a great upbringing, and that they're going to be ready to be the future generation. When you go and try to inflict trauma on children like this, you are a fucked up individual. And there's no shot if I was MrBeast, I would have hired somebody like this. Not a fucking chance. There's something wrong with MrBeast. There's something wrong with Jimmy. I think he's on a power trip. I think that his philanthropy channel is simply to cover up and brand himself as a better brand and make him seem like, well, how could he do any of these messed up things? Because he's got a philanthropy channel. He helps people. He gives away money. How could he be a bad person, right? I think the philanthropy channel was a really good move on his part, and I think it was calculated. I think he planned for that. I think he's not the person that people think he is. And I think from the outside looking in that he's probably a really good person, easy on the eyes. But I'm sure once you get to know him, these are the type of experiences that you get from personally knowing MrBeast. Anyways, this is all just my opinion. These are just allegations. And regardless of the fact, I hope you guys got a little bit more insight from this video. Leave a comment down below on what you think of the situation. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.